You are now listening to Talk Yo Jits Podcast.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Talk Yo Jits Podcast with Richard Raciti, your martial artist with a to-do list. I'm here with your former host, Lamar Smith.
What's up, people?
I'm taking over. I'm not taking part here. So we're here today with a special interview because I'm going to turn the tables and I'm going to interview Lamar Smith, who you're just switching things on me here, who just received his black belt. So we're going to get into his story a little bit, what he likes to do, techniques he enjoys, how he got started, where he got started, and get into his head a little bit. Usually he's the one who asks the questions, and he's actually quite amazing at it. So if you're looking to be a sponsor, this is the show to do it on. This is getting bigger and bigger. It's spreading out. It's great when people speak the truth, you know? So let's get right to it. First of all, I want to congratulate you on receiving your black belt.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Were you surprised, or did you know you were being tested? How did that come about?
We knew. My instructor, we talked about it leading up to it, so we had an idea when it was going to happen.
Okay, and you know that moment, you know, where the brown belt is coming off.
Oh.
And the black belt is coming on. And everyone has their, you know,
you broke up a little bit. You said when the brown it stopped when you said the brown belt came off.
Yeah, that second when the brown belt came off and the black belt comes on. That moment that, you know, like damn, I got it. I made it. How did that feel?
It felt surreal. It felt like so surreal because I think I just gotten used to being a brown belt. So it's like tied the black belt on me and I'm still just so in shock and awe. And I think it didn't really hit me until like I hung my brown belt up. And I was like, wow, I'm not wearing this belt anymore. So it's still taking some getting used to, but yeah, I'm still in shock every time I see it in my bag.
Yeah, I am too. I'm getting each degree, even making it to 5th degree. I still look at it and I go, you know, that's kind of cool. And I've gotten other ranks in other martial arts, but this is by far because of the time we have to put into this. This is not one of those, and not to bring up Taekwondo where you get a black belt in 2 years, and you know, and then what happens is, unfortunately, any false sense of confidence you have in your life will betray you when you need it the most. So just empowering and giving people different ranks and things like that are, you know, they haven't put the time into. So let's go to the beginning. What first got you interested in either Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Was that your first thing? Did you start in other martial arts? How old were you?
I kind of played around with other martial arts, kickboxing, karate, whatnot, MMA. It just seems like when I started doing jiu-jitsu, it kind of got introduced me through a friend, well, he's like a brother now, but introduced through that, and then it was kind of like at the right time. I had my schedule kind of opened up for the days we were training. It wasn't too far from the house, you know, everything seemed like it was right, even down to like affording tuition monthly. So it was just like one of those things. I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I wasn't giving myself long anyway. I was probably giving myself maybe like 2-3 months.
Yeah.
But after so long, it was just like, yeah, I can stick around with this. I can stick around with this. And then 6.5 years later, boom, I'm getting a black belt tied around my waist.
What is it about the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that made you, as you put it, stick around?
For one, my instructor, he made it very clear from jump what to expect out of Jiu-Jitsu. As far as it's all about commitment. It's all about what you put into it. It's all about how your journey is going to go, because you're going to see people around you that's going to move faster or sometimes slower than you. but that can't deter you from your journey. And also just the mind, the thinking behind jujitsu, because it's not one of those things where it's like I can learn a technique, but I also have to make that technique work for my body and as well as my opponent, because I can throw every straight punch look like a punch, every straight kick look like a kick, but not every arm bar or triangle going to look the same depending on who you're working with. So just being able to, think of different scenarios depending on like the body types and whatnot. It's like, it was really, really intriguing. And also comparing jiu-jitsu to chess was really like, yeah, this is what I like. I like thinking a lot.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I think it's an analytical game, and it's, in my opinion, one of the first martial arts out there that people who are what we would refer to when I was younger as nerds can like become killers. You know, people that are, whether they're very technical or they just love, like I love gadgets. I just love, I'm always buying them too. I just bought a brand new digital microscope. Now, if you would ask me why I need that, I don't. I just bought it, so I'm doing a lot of research. I've looked at really stupid things I find around my house under the microscope. So, but yeah, when you get into jiu-jitsu, it's such a different type of martial art than other things I'm sure that you've done. So going back, white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, looking back now, can you remember kind of how you felt, at each belt, and you could kind of visualize, the things that you picked up? Let's go to white belt. So let's talk about your beginning, your training between white belt and your blue. Like, where are you? What are you thinking? How many times did you want to quit or think about quitting or giving up?
Every class, every single class, every single class, man. But I think what made it stick for me was I got to experience a lot of stuff during my white belt. I got to see my instructor get his black belt. I met, Master Joe Moera for the first time. I think just like maybe like the first few months of me training, I think I was like a one stripe white belt when I first met him. So it was, and I, did a private with him too. So it was just like, man, you get to meet royalty like this. And he's just a phone, and like now he's just a phone call away, It's like you hear about like the greats of Master Joe Moera, for example, fighting the early days of the UFC. And when people hear his name, it's like, oh my God, Joe Moera. But to me, that's like a family member now. Like, I can text or shoot Joe a message right now and have a conversation with him. But I wanted to quit almost every day, man. I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm not getting it. The terminology and what the fuck is a shrimp or a snake, or my body can't move this way, and so on and so forth. But after those couple, I guess, life-changing moments, man, I was like, I think I can stick around. I think I can hang around with this for a minute.
Yeah, I think a lot of people felt the same way as white belts. The biggest problem I had was, how do I remember all this shit? This is just too much.
Too much. Yeah.
And then I started to figure out, okay, well, remember the stuff you like the best. Well, what stuff do you like the best? The stuff I was good at. If I was good at it, then I like it and I'll probably use it. And I give that same advice to white belts. Don't try to remember it all. Remember the one that you like the best because you're good at it, and start working on that, and don't worry about the other stuff. I'm sure now as a black belt, every once in a while, you're like, oh my God, I used to do that like 4 years ago. I haven't done that technique in so long. And people can assume that we all know and remember everything we've ever learned.
No.
No. You get re-enlightened sometimes. You get reintroduced. There's techniques that you wrote off as a white belt, like, this sucks. It's complicated. This will never work. And it wasn't the technique. It was you.
It was me. Right.
So it's good that you can turn around and give that kind of advice to new white belts. And the one of the things I like about jiu-jitsu is the sincerity for the most part of, like you said, your instructor gave you the ins, the outs, and it didn't make a difference anyway, because you still felt the same shit. You know, that day you go home where I can't believe I got tapped. I can't believe it, man. And I was like, what's wrong with it? I got tapped. It's not a big deal. Her name was Heather. Leave me alone. We'll talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
The first question is, there's girls in that class? And what was she wearing? Like, you're missing the point. I got tapped. Not about what she was wearing. I don't know, a kimono, a gi. So
I got beat up, man.
Beat up. That's it. I'm hurt. Can you see me? All right. So moving on to now you're a blue belt. And, you know, at blue belt, my memory was no better than it was at white belt. But I found that adopting the methodology of slow is smooth, smooth is fast is what helped me. But at blue belt, I personally was still fighting my demons. And things like that. And you mentioned doing a private lesson with Professor Moreira. It's like when I did my first private with him, it felt like I was a 4-year-old and my father was holding me up on his feet playing Superman. Come on. Like just wiggling back and forth. There was nothing I could do to him at all. It's almost like every technique I tried, it's like I emailed him a week ago I was going to do that, and he already knew about it. And he's like, for this. So, you know, so now you're a blue belt, and what's the change?
Yeah, so when I got my blue belt, it you know, everyone gets that sense of accomplishment when they, you know, it's like a big achievement. It's like almost like graduating. Yeah. And I remember having a conversation with my instructor because, you know, the blue belt blues, you know, everyone just seems to just fall off the earth when it comes to blue belt. And I was just like, man, I can't see myself, you know, being the type of person I am, put so much time into this, knowing that there's so much more to achieve. So, you know, when I got my blue belt, I think that's when everything started to get a little bit more serious for me when it comes to jiu-jitsu. It was starting to like very, very, very rapidly like succumb my life. Like I was just engulfed in it, you know, from video lessons to talking to my instructor. And that's around that time I got real cool with one of my training partners, Brian, who got his black belt as well that same day. Because I was like, dude, I got to figure this out. I need to figure this shit out, man. So I kind of stuck to him, and, you know, we've been riding ever since. And that was around the time when I actually started teaching too. He asked me, my instructor asked me about doing kids class. So I was like, yeah, sure. I'll try kids class. And I think that was probably one of the best decisions in jiu-jitsu that I made was, you know, teaching kids class. A lot of people don't think that, but when you teach kids class, you have to break a simple technique down even more, and that just makes you understand the techniques a lot better as well.
I agree. I mean, for my students, if I have you teach, I call it ownership of information. If you don't know it, don't teach it. Well, I saw it. I don't care where you saw it. You don't know it. Have you used it? Have you used it in competition? Before you bring it to me, don't send me a link. You got to see this technique. I'm like, wow. I'll put that with the other 50,000 links you already sent me of other techniques and all this other stuff. I'm like, I'm just hitting delete half the time because I you know, it's a little bit overwhelming. Sometimes I'm like, wow, that's really cool. But it doesn't mean I adopt it and I go and do it right away. So I think that at blue belt, and when I was when I first got involved in jiu-jitsu, blue belts were opening up schools left and right. You got your blue belt. That was like, according to the time, let's like being a black belt and everything else, and I'm opening up a school. So blue belts had schools. Now it's not as common for a blue belt to open up and just start teaching. Right? Usually they do kind of what you do, get involved and help. But when you're teaching something, you really have to know it, and it kind of forces you to be really on your game to the point where now your game is getting better and better because you're showing other people and breaking it down for them. And as you said, teaching kids especially. Adults, okay, throw a left jab. All right, the guy goes like that. I'm like, okay, left jab. Left jab. I'm like, what do you do for a living? I'm a surgeon. I'm like,
God.
So if I go to you and you're doing an amputation, how many times do I have to tell you right leg or whatever? Forget about if you're in a proctologist. I don't even want to go to you. You don't know what left and right is, where things are. So when you're teaching kids, it's I found it to be the most rewarding, and I've taught them for 40 years. So every 10 years, you see like a different type of kid. There were the kids when I first started that were blood and guts, running out, playing, getting dirty. And then the next generation, now it's, kids who are basically walking in and saying hello, sir, and then putting you on their like TikTok thing and, interviewing you. And they're like 6 or 7, and keeping their attention is not easy because we have to make it fun. But I found that making it fun for kids, it should be fun for adults too. Let's segue before we go to purple belt. Are you still teaching kids classes?
Yeah, I still do kids class. Yep.
Okay, and are you teaching some adult classes as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and let's just say I'm walking in on day 1. I'm a brand new student, and I walk in, and there is Professor Lamar Smith. What should I expect? Like, what are you going to say? Do you relay some of the same things your instructor said to you? Do you find yourself repeating some of that, but in your own way to new people coming in?
Oh yeah. So, right now we got 2, I guess you want to say 2 schools now. Once unfortunately we had to close down our home school, H2O. So me and Brian, we have one spot that we teach at called Agogi. We named it Agogi Jiu-Jitsu, and I have a spot that's going to be starting next week called Indovu Jiu-Jitsu. But right now we've been at over at Agogi for I think like 2 months now, and everyone that comes in to join jiu-jitsu class, because we're under another school. So he teaches like kickboxing and whatnot. So he's like, "Are you cool with people?" You said what?
I understand. Yeah. So you kind of like you have space inside somebody else's kind of school.
Yeah. So he like if anybody wants to try jiu-jitsu, the class is next, blah blah blah, and everyone comes up to me, he's like, "I've never done jiu-jitsu before." I'm like, "Well, that's perfect. That is perfect." I'm like, I give everyone the same spiel. Like I don't push you as hard as you don't push yourself. I don't expect you to do all these magical tricks because I don't know all the magical tricks. I do what jiu-jitsu that works for me, and we still teach the basics. Like everything revolves around the basics. I can teach you 101 techniques, but if you don't have the basics, none of that stuff even matters. So it's like you go at your own pace. I'm not going to dismiss you because you don't know the technique. If there's a time where it's like, hey, this technique that you showed 2-3 weeks ago, can you show it again? Absolutely. If you want to record it. If you have to ask me right then and there to demonstrate it 3 or 4 times, I have no issue with that.
Okay.
So that's how I approach anybody that asks me about learning jiu-jitsu from me.
I think if you're a good instructor, your class sells itself.
Mm-hmm.
My thing was watch the class if you want to watch, if you want to participate. I'll throw a gi top on you and a belt. You can jump in and try it, and that's it. After that, I was very kind of old school. After that, I either want you in my academy or out of my academy. I taught your lesson. Would you offer like a month? Like, no, I'm not taking time away from my regular students who are dedicated to spend a month working with you. Give me 2 months of your time up front, and I'll give you 2 months of my time up front. And after that, and you can stay or you can go. And jiu-jitsu is intoxicating. It's addictive to most people. Even people that have to give it up for whether it's health reasons, work reasons, finances, whatever, they still always crave going back. It's the gentle art. I'm 63. I love the fact that it does not put as much pressure on my joints as I did when I was kickboxing or Thai boxing and snapping kicks all the time. So it also gives you the ability to have injuries and be aware of them and avoid those spots. Like I don't go to certain sides for certain techniques. Well, when you do a scissor sweep to this side, I don't do it to that side. Like, well, I thought you like this high level black belt. I am. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not, but I still don't do it. Why? Because it just doesn't feel right for me. You know, and then when you sit there and you analyze your technique, when you go, wait a second, I'm like almost totally right side dominant. Scissor sweep to the right, Kimura to the right, this to the right, this to the right. I very rarely go the other way. It's because I have a dislocated shoulder. It feels not as natural. So I'm sure, you know, jiu-jitsu is not without its injuries. Pain and its aches and pains. So I've got plenty of them. I'm sure you do too. Yeah. So let's move on to purple belt. So now your blue belt is done and you're up at purple belt level. So how big of this do you guys have a large enrollment?
No, our school we usually have like maybe like 10 to 12 students at most. So it's a nice small class.
It's, you know, when I'm opening up a new academy and it's a small space and I am not teaching large groups. I like a small group. Yeah. You know, a large group is great because it's motivating. Oftentimes, let's just say you get invited to teach your first seminar and you're like, I'm teaching this. It's kind of cool teaching a seminar. And what's cool about it is the things that you normally teach your student, they're like, nice. Other places like, that reaction.
My God. Yeah.
Kind of like the way you felt when you met, like you said, you're meeting royalty, you're meeting Joe Moreira. Then he winds up being this really humble, gentle, sweet guy. Yeah. You know, I've never seen a martial art and been involved with one that is so intimate as far as the relationships with the students. Everyone's like, you know, I mean, my Korean instructor we never hugged each other.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, no, but in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, hug, hold, kiss. So it's you know, it's a little bit different than other things. So meeting him, rolling with him, and also the conversations like you've had a lot of conversations with him, and I spoke many times just talking. Sometimes talking, sometimes just talking shit, but talking. So you're a purple belt now. What do you got going on there? Can you remember?
Oh yeah, I can remember. leading up to my purple belt was rough, man. It was COVID. My mom got sick. Me and my wife was having a lot of issues. It was just rough. And we also had our second child. So so that whole time, man, it was just like I got addicted to jiu-jitsu. We were talking about, testing for purple belt, and then boom, shut down. So it was like, all right. So I went from doing jiu-jitsu 4 days a week to not at all. What the hell am I gonna do? So after time goes on, we open back up, and he was like, you want to test for your purple belt? I'm like, damn, I haven't trained in like 3-4 months. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, no, let's give it some time, let's wait. But my mom was like, yeah, sure. We could do this whenever. He's like, all right, well, let's do it at the beginning of September. And I was like, oh, we just came off of shutdown in August. Yeah. So, man, I think that was like by far like the most grueling test I've been through. At the end, I broke down and cried because I think like everything I was just dealing with from blue belt to purple belt just came out right there on the mats, man. And it's like after that, everything just kind of coasted for a little bit at purple belt. So yeah, purple belt was rough, like mentally rough, man.
You had a lot going on outside of purple belt. Yeah. So that's always rough in jiu-jitsu when you hit those, those things where you're trying to just, outside of jiu-jitsu, life is hitting just like one obstacle after another. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden to lose jiu-jitsu at the same time, you're like, what's going on here? So many times it's one of the things I do like about it is when you are having things in your life going on, you're in class, you have to focus. Yeah. You can't think about, oh my God, I have this bill, I have that thing going on, this going on. My son needs braces, my daughter needs that. You're like, I don't want to get arm barred though. So I'm
right.
on this. I understand I got these things going on, but then you walk in the house and sometimes as the guy, you're like flooded right away with this one wants that one wants that. You just want to say, everybody stop. Family, listen. I got a submission tonight. Does anybody care?
Do anybody care?
Anybody care about I got a submission. I know you have a problem in school. I know you want to talk later. I don't want to really talk, but we're going to have that talk. And you're just crying for no reason. But daddy got a submission, okay? Can we be at me?
Right. What about my needs?
Exactly. Well, there's a lot of those memes and things on Facebook about, jiu-jitsu guys and their significant others. And, it's good that a lot of people support it, but I don't think we do it for the support. We do it because we just love it. A lot of people can't understand the camaraderie. I mean, my own mother never got why I do this. Like, what are you quitting and why do you do that? And I remember giving my mother an honorary black belt.
Nice.
It was nice. It was in a cage in front of like 150 people at an event I hosted, cage grappling. I bring my mom in and say, listen, this is the teacher that made me the man that other teachers want to teach. That was my first teacher, my first everything. And I'm giving her a black belt certificate, name embroidered, and everybody's clapping, and I'm like thinking like, this is so cool, my mom. And she whispers in my ear, and I said, okay, I want to let you all know what my mother just said. She said, I'm hungry. When are we going to eat? And, I got like this old Jewish mother and that like nice, a black belt, a certificate. I can't fold it. Where am I going to put this? Like, that's my mother, Why do you do it? And like, even like, I don't know, I'm into like my 40th year. Are you still doing that thing with the hitting? I'm like, you mean my career? You mean my job?
Yeah.
Everything I care about. But, on the other end, I was also always a writer and always, doing things entertaining and creative. So we're going to skip from purple belt. I'm going to go to a little bit about your other background, your other passion. I can see it in the background, your artwork. And let's talk about that a little bit. So I know I'm jumping around, but hey, it's my show.
Yeah, it's your show. It is your show.
You're being a great guest. And after it's over, you may just I'm gonna give it back to you. I decided.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you.
I'm just too lazy to do this, like that often. All right. So your style of art, would you call it like anime? Is it kind of like, I remember growing up on Speed Racer, and it reminds me of that type of stuff, which is extremely hot, like right now. Everyone loves that. So talk about, how'd you get started first in art?
Oh man, I've been drawn since I could hold a pencil, man. It's always been a huge part of me. My uncles drew a lot, and just fall in love with anime. So around when I was growing up, I knew what Speed Racer was. I watched Speed Racer, but it was, Dragon Ball Z was the big thing. So I've drew that my whole entire life, but now I kind of just paint whatever now. Like I have like a couple other different styles. I do like the anime style, which is the one you see behind me. I do like the posters, surreal kind of things. Like I did of LeBron James, Bruce Lee, Mike Tyson. I've posted those before. They're hanging up around the room. So it's kind of like whatever. Never really had like a signature style per se. I just drew whatever I felt like drawing. So
cool. I've seen a lot of what you post. It's very cool. And I think more people should be supporting, local artists or any type of artist. I go to a lot of flea markets, and I do support some of the I live in Florida. Unfortunately, where I am, everything is sea-oriented stuff. Painting one. Like, all right, how many manatee pictures can I have in my house? How many dolphins or seals or seashells? And so I don't buy a lot, but I have some really nice pieces I've gotten. A really nice samurai that I think I'll take a picture of and send it to you. It's
awesome.
It's an old style kind of Japanese anime I think you'd like. And one of my students gave it to me. It's like a first edition. The artist signed it for him when he was a little kid, and he never gave it to me. and I love it. I'll take a picture and send it to you. It's pretty cool. So now do you make a living both teaching martial arts and doing art? Is that you're doing both?
As of right now, yeah, that's kind of how I'm trying to make my living. I kind of became a full-time teacher now. So I instruct, now Tuesday through Sunday now. So doing that, and also just trying to sell and get my art out there. So that's kind of been my main focus for like the past few months.
So you're teaching art?
No, no. Oh no, I'm teaching jiu-jitsu full time,
okay.
And I do art whenever I can.
Cool. You picked it like the two industries to make the least amount of money in.
All right. Yeah, I know, right? Good job.
Yeah, martial artist and fine artist. Which one makes you the most? Like neither.
Neither.
You know what, Bo? I mean, if I think the good things happen to good people, and I believe that I think the more people who enjoy your podcast should buy some of your art, and I know that you sell some of it, so I'm gonna buy one definitely within the next couple of days.
Awesome, thank you.
My dog is sneaking up behind me. Keep an eye on him. And other people should buy it as well. As a matter of fact, I'll start posting some of it for you on some of my websites so people can see. That stuff is really cool. I have a friend of mine who's 55 years old, and she plays Pokemon Go.
Awesome.
It is?
Well, yeah.
I'm just kidding. Really?
Really?
Yeah. But you know what? Her thing is I like to walk. And so I walk to the different places. And so it's kind of fun. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I could see that, So if I wanted something original done from you, I could send you a picture and you could do something from that. Like I have my new school opened up and I want to do something kind of, really the vibe in my new place is kind of bohemian meets batshit crazy, kind of that surf kind of vibe to it. I just put some pictures up a couple of days ago. My walls are yellow. My mats are blue. Some guy goes,
"Yeah, I just saw it earlier today."
Yeah, so I want to do something on my walls with a lot of blue in it. But I'll talk to you afterwards and send you some things, and maybe you can come up with something original, something cool to look on there. Not one of those chalk things like live, love, laugh. I'm like, wow,
damn.
Like,
I gotta change what I gotta do now.
Damn it, you just ruined it for me. All right, so now you're a purple belt for a while, and you're getting ready to move up to brown belt. So, how long were you a brown belt for, roughly?
A year, like a year and a half.
Okay, and as a brown belt, what are the things that you focus on? So let's go to particulars here. Let's get a little particular. Let's get specific. Okay. Favorite position in jiu-jitsu?
It's between side control and technical mount.
Okay. And from side control, favorite submissions?
It would have to be like a combination between a bread cutter and Americana.
Okay. And do you mostly go for far arm submissions in side control? Do you go for the close arm as well?
I usually do far arm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk. And what was your second position that you liked?
Technical mount.
Okay. Yep. What do
or
you like?
Or small package, as some people say.
All right. Well, describe it. What do you mean by like that? Kind of really uptight, close to the head, or
yeah. So they're kind of like on their side, kind of like facing away. So you kind of have the one leg in front of their at their belt line, the other leg is behind their head. So it's kind of like a mixture between like having someone being like mounting someone and having their back.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like right in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like that because to me, I have a lot more control, especially if I'm dealing with bigger guys who I necessarily can't mount. Because if I mount you, I'm floating. and I definitely don't want all your weight on me if if I got your back. So kind of like finding it's a happy medium.
I would rather be inside control than mount. I find sometimes, like you said, you have a barrel-chested guy, and you're like riding that little pony for a quarter outside the store. Your knees aren't even touching, and even though you control his weight and you're a more experienced guy, still you have nothing to ground to. You have no base. So I prefer. I mean, oftentimes I'll have mount, and I'll dismount into side control, but it's how I dismount. Like I prefer, if I'm dismounting from mount, I like to do a back step. If I back step off of him, then I automatically have him almost in a twister side control. Then I can decide to do whether I want to bring my knee up. But if I want off of you on the mount, I don't just jump off. I back step and then I slide in tight. So my side control from there is like, you're not going anywhere. I don't give you any room. But yeah, I think as much as I love the mount, for people that don't know what they're doing, it's great. But you go against someone who's got like just a few months in them and they're big, you feel like you're riding a rodeo. You're trying to hold on sometimes. And even if I like an elevated mount, I want to get up. I want my knees up under his armpits, and I want to be able to get down low so he can't see the chokes I'm trying to do. Move my elbow around, make him move his head a little bit, basically smother him, make him feel uncomfortable. Let's talk about when you're on the bottom. So your guard, what is it? What kind of game do you play from your guard?
I like to play from half. I like to play bottom half.
Okay.
I have, I've gotten a lot better with, with the lockdown, and also, there's a nice little back take from, simple little back take. They try to, come under, try to get the double under, swim under the arm, push in, switch to the back. So yeah, bottom half is very, very fun. As much as in Joe's system, that smash pass is what we're so used to, so we don't play deep half because we get punished for it. I've been kind of just been risky playing deep half now a lot.
Yeah, well, the other thing is people don't play the way Joe Moreira guys play.
Right.
So I agree. Oftentimes, I'm not. I go for a couple of things. If I'm on top and you have me in your half guard, I go for a lot of whether it's leg locks or somersaults or ways. But I'm always looking to get to someone's back. I just find that their defenses are blind. Reaching this way. I mean, even though you've been there before, you still don't know what I'm doing behind you as I'm maneuvering. So I like that too. Bottom half guard, I think I did a seminar, private lesson years ago with Hoist Gracie. And I asked him about his half guard game, and his answer was like, I really don't play half guard. Like, I don't really get into it. I was surprised. I'm like, wait. Back then I was like, you mean you don't know all the positions? You don't do them all? Like, you're a Hoist Gracie. You're not like the UFC guy. You should do all of them. And I think about my game. So let's talk about, what we have maybe similar to. Like, do you on the bottom, have you ever played, do you play a lot of spider guard?
Not really, no.
Me neither. I just don't. I don't know why, but there's so many other things I can do from bottom that I've come to the conclusion I don't have to do them all. There's guys out there that are like, well, he's the spider guard guy. He's like amazing. I'm like, I'd like to see him try that on me, is my first impression. Not to be, overly confident, but I just like to see what I could do against a guy who specifically does a certain move that he's known for. So like that. I just don't do it. I mean, I'll teach it every once in a while, and I'll even tell my students I don't do this a lot. And if you ask me why, I'm honestly not even really sure. The thing with jiu-jitsu is you can get away with it. It's like just not my thing, man. I'm like,
yeah.
How many other martial arts people were saying that? It's just not who I am. It's not
right.
Me. Like, yeah, you can't do that in anything else. Like,
No,
it's not you. You do Muay Thai. I don't like to elbow though. It's just not who I am.
it's just not my thing, right? I don't like throwing knees. It's just not.
Yeah. So in jiu-jitsu, you can do that. You can also learn to hide your weaknesses in jiu-jitsu, by maneuvering people away. You're like, well, you want to move people towards where you want them to be. That's true, but you also want to move them away from where you don't want them to be for another reason. Either I've got that bad shoulder, I've got that this. So I want to make sure that I'm maneuvering people away from me for two different reasons, to protect my weaknesses and at the same time. And that's where you mentioned the chess match.
Yeah.
I think it is. And I still look at it like, do you guys play jiu-jitsu chess ever? One move.
Oh, flow rolling. Yeah.
Yes.
Love a good flow roll.
You always get that one guy who does like 8 moves in a row. It's like, what the fuck was that? It was my move. That was 8 moves. I do one move. Look, I reached my hand up. That's my move. What's your move? Well, I reached it up and this came across like that. And I went like, that's like 12 moves, dude. There's always these players and they just can't do anything right. You're teaching a class. Somebody walks in, drunk, bad attitude, challenges you, calls you out. What are you going to do? Hypothetically speaking, I'm not coming there.
He said, I'm not coming. Yeah. Well, it wasn't drunk, but I did have, I'm not going to say a similar experience, but people who feels like they know everything type deal, I give them a nice little humble lesson. I don't try to like humiliate them or anything like that. So anybody that comes in like that is like thinking they're just gonna beat me up. I'm like, okay, we can play. We can play around for a minute. Because one of the spots I'm teaching at now, I did like a little open mat type deal, and it was like 4 guys, and they were all wrestlers. So we're going over 4x4 guard, and I'm just like, he's moving, so I'm just like, jumping, swimming to his back and all the other stuff and blah blah blah. So he's like, yeah, man, the only reason you got me because we started in a bad position. Let's start from standing. So I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, let's start from standing. So I was like, okay. So we start from standing, and he's boom, straight to wrestler mode. And I'm just going for the ride. He's moving, he's taking 50 steps. I'm just slowly turning. He runs this way, I'm slowly turning this way, and yada yada yada. I think we went for like a good 5 minutes, and he's just sucking air. He's just gasping and stuff. He's like, man, you're so good, man. I don't know what you did. I was like, I just kept myself calm.
Yeah.
I just kept myself calm. And that's in any situation how you want to handle it in the gym, in the streets. If you get that irate person that comes into your gym, there's no need for me to match energy with you. I'm just going to keep myself calm.
That's even more annoying to people that are irate is when you're calm and you're not getting in the dirt with them. I train a lot of bodyguards and things like verbal diffusion. And oftentimes we talk about redirecting the person. So if you're in my face, you're yelling, screaming, blah, 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 I'm always going to ask you a question that requires more than a one-word answer. So if you're screaming, I'm going to F you, come on. And I say to you, did you have lunch today? Yeah, you're back to hitting me. Now, hey, what'd you have for lunch today? What do you care? I just want to know. I'm like, just what'd you have for lunch? I had like a tuna fish sandwich. Like, now you got him talking about something else. As a guy, and I like to fight. I like it. I was a bouncer for 20 years because I like fighting. I like street fighting. I like it. I just do. And unfortunately these days, we have to contend with people that walk in and they're like this and like this, and the next thing you know, you whip their ass and they're suing you. Right. Even having them sign like, I have the guy sign a liability. You think that's protecting you? Because you had a guy come in, challenge you. He's intoxicated or whatever, or he's not, and you made him sign so you can beat the crap out of him. That's not going to fly. You saw that thing with that bouncer who punched that kid square in the face, the big guy Like, how is he a bouncer? How is he a security guard when he punches people in the face? So the guy who hired him, another influencer online. I'm an influencer. I just can't wait for one of those little influencers to run up on me and ask me some stupid question, because I'm old. I really would love that. Like someone named Kyle or Corey, and they have their own show, and they wear knit hats even though it's Florida, because they're so freaking cool. Please come up and ask me a question. I'm inviting you. Please come up. I really want you to talk to me.
Said please. I know I see those videos all the times, man. It's like one day.
Yeah.
Someone does some stupid stuff like that.
I saw a video about some kid who just beat the shit out of a 63-year-old man, my age, in a movie theater over a seat. And he just bang, bang, bang. I'm like, please let that be me next time. Please. And I live in Florida where everybody can own a gun now. I mean, anyone, you have a driver's license, get a gun. I'm going out for milk and a gun. And people don't realize that their first level of disconcern is to pull a gun on each other. Mm-hmm. So, I'm training a lot more people in gun disarms and also gun retention stuff. We do a lot of self-defense in our jiu-jitsu. We start standing, teaching people how to block the right way. And a lot of guys didn't like it in the beginning. We took over a new school, and now they're loving it. So, for instance, I taught a private lesson a while ago for a guy I became very friendly with, and it was a boxing class. Within about 5 minutes, I go, Mike, you're never going to hit anybody, are you? He goes, no. I go, let's do jiu-jitsu. I go, you just don't have that person. I don't see you ever hitting anybody.
Yeah.
You're too docile. You're calm. You're like that nice guy. You really are. Unfortunately, I don't want to be that guy and have somebody come up to me or confront me and embarrass me in front of my children, in front of my wife. So, we worked jiu-jitsu, and it was a lot better because he had a bit of a wrestling background, when he was in high school. So I think for people, like I said at the beginning, jiu-jitsu is great for the nerd type, the people that are over analytical, the thinkers, the ones who can't sleep at night because their brain doesn't shut down.
Right.
And that's when you wake up like, what's going on, honey? Nothing. What are you thinking? No, nothing. Was it about us? Yeah, it was about us. Why are you holding my arm, and why do you have my hand like that? I asked you to hold hands, and what did you call it, a Kimura? Can we not do jiu-jitsu for a little bit?
Blasphemy.
Exactly. So the first time somebody called you professor, how did that sound?
I don't like it. It's weird to me. It's so weird. I'm like, so one of the guys we train with, he's like, so we call you instructor or professor? I'm like, no, just call me Lamar. I'll take coach, or one of the kids might say, Sensei Lamar. I'll take that. But from peers, no, I'm just Lamar, man. I'm just Lamar.
I didn't like it.
It just feels weird.
I didn't like it either in the beginning but I looked at the roots of it, and in the Hispanic or the Portuguese community or certain things, professor is basically teacher. I mean, they call the soccer coach professor in some countries. So I didn't like it. I never liked the phrase master because I don't think I've mastered anything in my life ever, nor will I ever master anything. It's just, I just don't like it. And my students call me either sir, or some call me professor. The ones that are the newer guys call me professor. And, but yeah, there's certain terms I just don't really care for. It doesn't feel like me. So I learned to enjoy the professor part of it because I realize it is a cultural statement and not so much that I am, I feel like imagine meeting a professor of astrophysics from Harvard, oh, I'm a professor too. So I go, really? In what subject? You're like, shit.
Dismemberment? I don't know.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Right.
Wow, that's great. Good talking to you. And they're out of there. Yeah, it's can be. I mean, yeah, you one day you're one of the guys, and the next day you're not. And it's kind of like that line of, it's almost like getting promoted at work. where you've been one of the guys in the loading dock for 10 years. Now they're the supervisor. And all the things you liked about them are now annoying because you got to be in a position of authority. So, but it's good that you guys have, a small. Are you looking to? So, what's the future for you? What's your goal? To open up your own place, to have your own school, to and promote your art?
I mean, all the above, man. It seems like everything is starting to fall into place. Like I said, we end up teaming up with this guy named Kurt over at his school at Boombox Kickbox, martial arts and kickboxing, who's been very gracious enough to let us take over the grappling class. So we're teaching jiu-jitsu there. I'm at another place called the Martial Yard out in Garden City, Michigan, where I'll be teaching full-time there too. So it's slowly growing, man. It's slowly growing. It just seems like a very smooth transition from being a student to instructor to being a head instructor, like all in like one go. And I've been getting nothing but love and support from everybody. So yeah, man, it's getting there. Slowly getting there. But yeah, in the future, I would love to eventually have my own building, have my own school and whatnot. But this is a start.
So what do you think of? I'm sure you see all of these martial arts gurus out there on the business end of martial arts. Enroll 100 students in just 2 hours. We're gonna do dojo master, this master, that master. We're going to do everything for you. Have you looked into any of those systems, or is that something that you're just not comfortable with?
Yeah, I see them pop up on Facebook a lot now because your phone listens to you when you start talking about stuff like that. I've seen it, but I'm like, I'm not in it for the money. If it comes, it comes. When I open up a school, if I get 100 students, cool. I'm like I said, I'm just cut from the same cloth my instructor is. If I open up a school and I'm making enough to keep the building open, all the bills are paid from what I'm making from the students, I feel like I'm winning. So that's how I see it.
I mean, I've been doing this for I think I opened my first school in 1980. So, I've seen them come and go. And, my advice to new school owners and people opening up is it's okay for us to make money. We're not Mr. Miyagi. We're not, we don't have to be poor because that's what the martial arts is. And those days are over. But we can maintain our integrity and not teach crap and not jump on the fad that's going on. I happen to do very, very well in my schools, extremely well. And I did well because A, right place, and B, I kind of ran it like the business end of it. Once I stepped off the mat, I acted like a CEO of my corporation. And I ran it like a CEO. The mat, hey, blah, 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 off the mat, it was different. And I never sold out. I never talked shit. I never sold shit. I never came up with a black belt program to get your black belt in 2 years. I never, ever. And there's people out there that feel like they have to do that. You have to sell out to cash in the martial arts business. I'm like, no, you don't. You may
no, you don't.
You don't. You can make the money that you want because you deserve it. I mean, think about it. You've been training, took you how many years to get your black belt?
6.5.
All right. It's practically a doctor. Doctor's been 8 years of school, and the time we put into this, our tuition, our blood, our sweat, our heart, and also the things that we've ruined in our lives because of martial arts, the things we didn't pay attention to, the friendships that ended, the people we alienated, whatever it is, everything has a cost. So it's not, I tell people, don't feel bad about charging, about making money in this business. Just separate your mat from your business. Keep that integrity. Integrity sells. My father told me that when I was young. Integrity will always sell in the end. You may have a shit product and people will eventually find out. Unfortunately, we're dealing in a world where people want instant gratification. They're going, So, hey, listen, Professor Smith, I know you don't like that, but how long before I get good at this?
I love that question. That's the favorite question. Like, how long you think it's gonna take me for to get good at this? I was like,
okay, so what's your answer then? I'm asking.
That's a question you need to ask yourself.
Okay.
That's a question you need to ask yourself. You put the time in, you stay committed, you stay humble, you let go of your ego, and eventually you'll gain the knowledge and you'll gain the skill.
Yeah, I agree. I think when I've seen in jiu-jitsu, there's two types of people. Those who are natural right out of the box that you love and hate. Because, like, I had to work so hard to get what you just did, like that. And then those who struggle and struggle and struggle. The good thing about it is I tell them the naturals are also naturally lazy. Everything comes easy to them. They're getting in late, leaving early, doing their thing. But you keep working and working and working and working and working. And eventually you'll be able to beat the guy that was the natural because he doesn't have to work as hard. I don't think I was natural in anything in martial arts. I came from a soccer background and I was not good at this stuff at all. I wasn't picking it up. And if I wasn't picking it up, then it's stupid. That's how I felt at the time. Well, this is just stupid. Well, you're not good at it. It's stupid. If it was good, I'd be better at it. How can you not be getting this? It's dumb. All right. Not to mention, you ever walk by the window of a jiu-jitsu school? It's like the gayest looking sport in the world. You got one guy between another guy's legs, especially between the way Professor Mary said, okay, Richie, come between my legs. I'm like, could you just rephrase that once or twice? And, how about this? Get in my guard. Get in my guard. Okay, so you between your partner's legs. I'm like,
Or like he'll just lay down and be like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I usually do that. No, this is wrong.
Like, can I get dinner first? Like, wait a minute.
But yet you're like, yeah. And like a puppy, you want to do it anyway. You're like, well, he went like that, so I got between his legs. Then what happened? Well, then he armbarred me, and I suffered.
Right, I got choked out. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I told you he choked me out of the seminar in front of everybody, and it was just. I mean, even kids were like, "Are you okay?" They thought I was dead. And it was the joke where he had his hands in here, but his knees were in my chest, and I wasn't really feeling. Okay, I'm feeling it a little bit. Next thing you know. Rich. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I go, I'm sorry. He's like,
yeah.
Sorry. I go, I lost focus. He's talking. I'm in his guard, and
I
just completely lost focus. But no, I was unconscious. I lost consciousness. I'm like, holy crap. People I'm walking around going, I'm good. And I go, I'm not good.
I'm not good.
I'm good. Listen, I'm a warrior. I'm like, not good. Feeling still good things here.
Right, don't cry.
So I felt like, maybe I go in the bathroom, maybe wash off my face. But you can't go in right away. You gotta wait.
Like you gotta walk it off. Yeah, you gotta wait a minute.
I was gonna go to the bathroom anyway. Exactly. So, I went.
I've been there. I don't know if I was talking to you about it, but I've told the story before. At a Master Joe seminar, and he was doing the bulldog pass, and he goes for the bulldog pass, and someone asked him a question, and at this point, I'm folded. I am like all my weight is on my shoulders.
You're like a
monster. He's just posted, and I'm like, all right, he's gonna go in a minute, and then once Joe gets to talking, Joe just gets comfortable, and I was like, oh, he is sinking his weight down. Oh, this is bad. But what do I say? Like, do I stop him? I'm like, hey, okay. I'm tapping him on the side. Like, okay, I can't breathe.
I know. It's
like
okay. It's like going to a meeting at work and at 5:00 and some guy goes, I've got a 7-part question. You're like, oh, man, come on. And that's
right.
Yeah, when Joe, I've had that position where he's kind of had me almost folded in half, and then someone will ask him a question. And I've been the same spot. Okay, well, I'm talking about, I'm like, and it may be like, excuse me, I have a question. Where do donuts come from? I'm like, you fucking kidding me? I'm like, inappropriate. And he's like, well, region. I'm like, and I'm dying here on the top. Like you said, when you talk and you sit, your energy sits, which is why I've done stand-up comedy, and stand-up comedy usually walk around because your energy walks with you. When you sit, like, he's getting like Jabba the Hutt, like just kind of relaxed. He's like just sinking into it. I'm like, is he holding a remote control at this point?
Right.
TV. I'm underneath you. That's like telling somebody, hey, by the way, you parked your car on top of me before. I was under there for like 6 hours. But it's such a great group of people in the organization. And, it's good that you're the only guy, I think, in the whole association that does this sort of thing and primarily brings in, Joe Moreira guys that talk about, what he does. I get people sending me links all the time to jiu-jitsu shit I can give, a shit about.
Right.
I posted, that guy posted. I'm like, if it's not a Joe Moreira thing or a Joe Moreira guy or one of our things, I just don't care anymore. There's just so much out there. And I know you and I talked about this when you interviewed me a while ago, and I brought up my feelings about, the use of performance enhancement drugs. And there you have just a couple of, like maybe a week ago, Gordon Ryan just coming out and admitting that, if you have the right money, you get the right doctor, you do the right drugs and blah, blah, blah. Sure. I think it's important. I think that everyone in the sport should be doing them. Like you denied it for so long. And now you're saying that you've been taking them. I mean, look at the picture of you without, look at it with. How could you, it's called performance enhancing. Enhance mean above, beyond what is naturally produced. So I have no respect for people like that. Now, oh my God, you're a role model. You're like, I'm going to get my Gordon Ryan poster and put it up in my room. So, and I think the same thing with the UFC. I don't care if you drop the U.S. Drug Association, but you have to put something else in its place. If you're going to self-govern, that opens up a lot of potential for exposure where, we really look what they're doing with Conor McGregor. They just want him to fight. They're willing to take him out of the pool, put him in the pool, put him in a swimming pool, whatever it takes to get him in the ring, which was the whole premise of Mark Hunt's lawsuit against the UFC and Brock Lesnar. They knew he was on steroids. They knew he could not possibly unjuice before the event. They knew it. Right. And they gave him a Pasadena on it, and they'll do the same thing for other people. So,
man, just the thought, man, is how dangerous that is.
Exactly. I mean, certain drugs that are out there are, and again, I just don't see how you can call yourself the king, the champion, the this, the that, if you're admitting openly that you are a performance-enhancing drug user, and you say it in such a smug way, like it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's good for the sport. It's good for the sport. Like, really? This became the WWE then. Those guys are even though some of them have a great deal of wrestling skills, they're entertainment wrestlers. That's it. I mean, one of the best seminars I ever had back when Matt Riddle was doing UFC fighting was Matt Riddle. I know the school he trained in Pennsylvania. I knew the owner of the school. And Matt Riddle put on a really good MMA wrestling seminar. Really talented guy. I didn't follow what he did after that, the whole WWE thing, because it's not my thing. I don't really want to watch, that stuff. But, the UFC got rid of him for smoking weed.
Right.
What's the worst thing to do? Go on a couch and eat a bag of Doritos? That enhance your performance. So you kick a guy like that out who had charisma and had a decent career ahead of him. You get rid of him for something like that, and yet you're going to drop all the drug testing?
Crazy.
People want to know when the next fight is. I want to know when Dana White's next fight against his wife is. That's what I want to know. When are you rematching your wife? Because you're so against violence and that sort of thing. Yet that was like some Will Smith shit. From here down to the floor.
Damn. Yeah.
Your wife. I mean, she slapped him first because he probably said something stupid because they're drunk. And what do you immediately punch her in the face?
Right.
I mean, this is why NFL players and other sports, they get fired for that stuff. They get kicked out. You're done in the league. Done. We can't market you. I'm a huge, huge dog lover. I had no interest in NFL sports after Michael Vick was allowed to come back in and play. I mean, there were excerpts of what he did physically, he himself did to those animals. You apologize because you got caught? Okay, we're cool. Like, I'm sorry,
right?
Man. I can't get behind that, and I can't get behind, the whole this whole thing with the USD. I haven't watched the UFC in forever. I don't even watch them anymore. Can't afford them. And yeah, it's like, well, if you go on and join up an ESPN Plus and pay $175, I'm like, are you kidding me? Most of the fights have gotten so boring that the pre-fight, the weigh-in is more exciting than the fight itself. I'm like, boom, yeah, you want to go? You want a piece of me? You want to go? I'm like, aren't you guys scheduled to fight tomorrow?
Like in 12 hours, man. Calm down.
Exactly. But they're like, you want to go? You want to fight? I'm like, yeah, we got a contract. We're scheduled. And they all do the chest thing and the puff thing and the head touching and everything else. It's just become so much hype. I mean, I don't know. I look at, like you brought up Hicks and Gracie and some of the other guys that look at this new wave jiu-jitsu and they're just rolling their eyes going, this is not the way.
This is not, yeah.
I make a mistake a lot of times when I have Joe for a seminar. I say, we're learning Joe Murray. He goes, not my jiu-jitsu. This is not my jiu-jitsu. Rich, don't say my jiu-jitsu. It's real. This is the way jiu-jitsu should be done. I'm like, but you're the only one that ever taught me the style of jiu-jitsu. So
I don't know nothing else right now.
Yeah, exactly. Because I had trained originally with other people, and I just I think Joe's approach is just so it's efficient.
Mm-hmm.
It's how I look at it. And, it's a great organization. Well, listen, we got to go. We're running a little bit late here. I want to thank you for being on the Talk Yo Jits podcast with Richard Raciti. And we were here today with Lamar Smith, newly anointed, awarded black belt. Please don't call him professor. He does not like it.
No, just Lamar is fine.
All right, Professor Smith, it's been great talking to you. I'm sorry. It just felt so natural now. I'm sorry.
I appreciate it, Richard.
If there's anything you want to say to my listeners, formerly your listeners, what would you like to say to them?
Hey, just all I can say is, man, I appreciate all the guys' love and support. When I had my show before it got took over by Mr. Raciti here, hopefully I can get my show back. But follow our social medias like always, man, and stay tuned to more. I got plenty more stuff coming down the line, and it's gonna continue to grow. So yeah, that's it.
And I hope if and when you do get the show back, that you are able to continue to make it grow. And this was not my idea to take over your show. This came directly down from corporate. So you know how you talk to Phil in accounting if you want to, or human resources, and see what you can do. But
yeah, I got to.
Listen, I'm pulling for you, man.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lamar. I will talk to you soon.
All right, man. Thank you.
And done.